26th of July, 2014, Carrington Park, Bathurst. The bottom of the table Sharks up against the second place Panthers. In the 60th minute, Sam Tagatese finishes off a play involving Wade Graham, Andrew Fafita, and a movement that went 60 metres to steal the lead off the premiership heavyweights and put the good guys in the box seat. What happens next? You'll have to wait and see. Welcome to another episode of Classic Cronulla Chronicles. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fan podcast. Let's just talking do the football. And as the 2025 season is upon us now, here is a new episode of our little spin-off, Classic Cronulla Chronicles, where we cover a classic match involving the team we're playing against this week, ideally with the same theme too. So the Panthers, we're playing them in Vegas, round one. So not Dub Vegas, not Sid Vegas, not Bris Vegas, but Bath Vegas. Doesn't quite have the same ring. But anyway, a neutral venue between these two sides. The last time that occurred, not involving a finals match. Obviously, we played them in the 2018 and 2024 finals. But a regular season match happened at Carrington Park in Bathurst, a Panthers home game back in 2014. Yes, a horror season in many, many ways and levels for the Sharks. But this one was a good day out for the good guys. We'll rip straight into it. Looking at the form leading in, the Sharks was 16th. They'd actually had two wins in the lead up to this one. They were a little while before, so they'd been pumped on a Friday night at home by the Cowboys, 36-18. They led the Knights 18-0 on a Sunday afternoon, but went down 31-18 there. But there was two famous victories, the massive record comeback wins over the Broncos 2 weeks before that, and then following that, so just before the Knights game was the Roosters one where we came back from a record score. So the Roosters, we beat 30 points to 28 at the old Allianz or Sydney Football Stadium and beat the Broncos 24-22 at Suncorp to snap a massive losing streak and a massive no scoring of points streak. And prior to that, we lost to the Manly Seagulls 26-0. Prior to that, there was two other matches too that we got done to nil involving Souths and the Dragons. While the Panthers, high flying, sitting second. They had 2 wins, 2 losses and a bye, so not the best form going into it. It was a bit of the back end of the origin period. So they lost to the Roosters 32-12 the week before. They beat the Broncos 35-34 in a high-scoring thriller on a Friday night. They beat the Tigers 26-10. Lost to the Warriors. The Warriors were pretty good that year. They lost the Warriors 30 points to 20 and had a bye. So we move on to the sides. We'll look at the Sharks side first. The fullback, Michael Gordon, the wingers, Sasai Feki and Jacob Gagan, the centres, Jono Wright, Ricky Latelli, the halves, Farmanu Brown, Jeff Robson, the front row, Andrew Fafita, Michael Leisha, Sam Tagatese, the back row, Luke Lewis, Wade Graham, the captain, and Chris Heinington onto the starting lineup, jersey 15, replacing Paul Gordon, and the bench of Pat Politoni, Tinarau, Arona, Tim Robinson, and Matt Pryor in jersey 19, the coach, James Shepherd, who had replaced Peter Sharp a few weeks prior, who was also standing in for the suspended Shane Flanagan. The Panthers, some interesting names here you'll see. So the fullback, Matt Moylan, a name we are familiar with. The wingers, Dallin Watini, Zalesniak, and Kevin Nagama. The centres, Dean Farray, Jamal Idris. The halves, Jamie Soward, Peter Wallace, the captain, and halfback. The front row, Nigel Plum, James Seguiaro at hooker, Brent Kite. The back row, Bryce Cartwright, Isaiah Yeo, Elijah Taylor, the bench of Lewis Brown, Jeremy Lattimore, Sam McKendry, Sikamanu, the coach, Ivan Cleary, in his first stint with the Panthers. Moving to the match itself, and sorry, these slides give the game away. It's a bit of a quick and dirty game, or quick and dirty episode this week. Right off the bat, the Sharks started well. I was at this game. Shout out to a good mate of mine from Dubbo, Drew, who met me, I suppose, halfway between Sydney and Dubbo, kind of more on the Sydney side of things in Bathurst. But it was good to get to a game out in Central West New South Wales. Jacob Gagan from a Robson crossfield kick scoring in the right corner. Michael Gordon nailing it from the sideline to give the Sharks an early 6-0 lead. Shortly after that, the Panthers came back downfield. They had a pretty exciting attack that year. They swung left and then got brought down, swung right. Played a nice overlap, and DWZ scored in the corner to make it 6-4 in the 18th minute. Soward missing the kick. It's pretty blustery conditions, and you'll see the field gets a bit muddy during this period too. Sharks, back-to-back tries, 24th and 28th minute. The Michael Gordon one was spectacular in that it was a little crossfield chip kick from Jeff Robson, almost Brett Morley-esque in that was halfway between the posts and the sideline. Fell down just short of the line. Wade Graham at the left second row position went up, managed to bat it back, taken by Fecky, who gave it to Gordon on the wraparound to score in the corner untouched. Unfortunately, Gordon missed the kick there. And then there was a nice little play shortly after that, only 4 minutes later, Michael Gordon making a line break on the fourth tackle, getting brought down about 10 metres out. And then there was an interesting swing to the right in the had Luke Lewis at hooker, who gave it on to Andrew Fafita, gave it on to John O'Wright, who did a flick pass off to Gagan to score in the corner. Interesting that Fafita was hanging out essentially right second row there. Kevin Nagama scored in the corner close to half time to bring it back to 14-10. And Sharks in a pretty dominant position, but goal kicking was starting to hurt them a bit. Early in the second half, Dean Farray scored a try with a Stout goal to put the Panthers in front. And then in the 60th minute was the famous moment where, out of nothing really, Wade Graham put Fafita through a hole, who again the commentators noted was hanging out in the centres. He just burnt straight between Jamal Idris and Peter Wallace, covered a fair bit of the ground, and who was looming in support, but none other than his front row partner, Sam Tagatese, who covered the last 30-odd metres to score and put the Sharks in front. The try itself scored right next to the sticks, and Michael Gordon unfortunately shanked it, so only 1 from 4 for him that day. Moving on to the talking point. So Jacob Gagan got a double. I thought it might have been his maybe first and only career double, but he did get a double against the, I think it was the Roosters a few weeks prior to that, or the Broncos prior to that, and they come from behind win. He scored 5 tries that year. It was a real breakout, I suppose, a shining light in an otherwise bleak season, but unfortunately would not play any further part in first grade for the Sharks after 2014, had quite a few injury issues, and wouldn't score a try again for the Sharks. And he only scored 1 more try in first grade. That was a match against the Knights, for the Knights against the Sharks in 2017, where he scored a try there. Then he played 1 more match for the Bunnies in 2019. So a pretty short career for Gagan. Played plenty of reserve grade, plenty of Queensland Cup, playing for Norths Devils, and also playing a fair bit for the Sharks as well. Was in the system as of a year or 2 ago. Moved into being more of a second rower. I'm not sure where he is these days, but we wish him all the best. But final first grade match was for Souths in 2019. One and only game. Slam and Sam Tagatese scoring this important try there. I was surprised how few tries he scored for the club. He only scored 9 in his 117 matches he played for the Sharks between 2011 and 2017. I do remember 2 tries he scored, both in semi-finals, one against the Cowboys later the year before in 2013, and the other against South Sydney in 2015. This was one of the latter tries in his career, with only 1 further try to follow after this one in Sharks colours. So a fair bit of a drought there. But he only scored 9 in his career, but they were important ones when he did score them. Looking onto Carrington Park, Central West New South Wales. Well, it's kind of on the eastern side of Central West New South Wales. Obviously, we've had plenty of great players come from the country and play for us. David Peachy and Russell Richardson, the 2 I'm thinking of from Dubbo. But playing at Carrington Park, it was interesting to find that we played there 3 times. This was the first NRL or New South Wales Rugby League, whatever you call it, premiership match we'd played there. But back in 1987, Panasonic Cup match was a win over Canberra, and a 1992 Tui's Challenge Cup quarterfinal win over Manly, and then this match as well. So a good record there. In that we're 3 from 3 in that venue. Hopefully we're 1 from 1 in Vegas this weekend. An interesting talking point I chucked in there was Isaiah Yeo, who I was surprised to see had made his debut in 2014 as a 19-year-old. Played 10 matches that year, or 11 matches that year. That was his 10th game, this one against us. And obviously, we've seen how his career's gone from there. I do remember distinctly him scoring 2 tries against us in an early 2016 match for the Panthers. In that one, I think Soward missed a kick to tie things up. And so obviously Yo's gone on to have a huge career, but it was interesting to see the players that are still getting around. DWZ was one of them. Isaiah Yo, another, involved in this match that are still involved in first grade today. And obviously the number of players that have jumped between the clubs, between the Panthers and the Sharks. From the Sharks side of things, we had Michael Gordon, Luke Lewis, and Wade Graham. And then on the Panthers side, yet to play for the Sharks, but we had at that point in time, but Matt Moylan, James Seguiaro, and Jeremy Lattimore. So the fallout, Sharks 18, Panthers 16, Gagan with a double, Michael Gordon, Sam Tagatese tries. Gordon 1 from 4. Kevin Nagama, Dallin Watini-Selesnak, and Dean Farah had the tries for the Panthers, and Soward 2 from 3 with the boot. Unfortunately, this would be the Sharks' 5th and final win for the season. They wouldn't win again in 2014 and finish with the dreaded spoon, while the Panthers finished 4th with 15 wins and 9 losses and ended up losing to the Bulldogs in the prelim final, who ultimately went down to South Sydney in the final. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. That was a quick and dirty episode tonight. There'll be more extended episodes coming as we look back at some classic games. This one, we will endeavour to provide a link to the NRL page that has the highlights of this one. They don't come in a neat format. It's individual short highlights. So like many of these matches, as we're starting to get on in years, this was only 10 to 11 years ago now, limited coverage available online, apart from a few news articles and a few short snippets of highlights. So it would be good to build up that archive, NRL. We'll give a shout out to Ash Taylor at the club, the Sharks as well, who's provided access to a lot of their archives, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, this one, through any fault of their own, wasn't available. I thought this one would be more readily available. So in the meantime, hopefully we'll get a 2 points in our first match, premiership match we played outside Australia, New Zealand. First match played outside Australia, New Zealand, and hopefully take it home to bring into a good year. In the meantime, up.